I could talk about KD's free agency and give my guess for that. But let's be honest, unlike the other players, KD's free agency is really a crapshoot. He has the Warriors, Clippers, Knicks, Nets, a whole bunch of other teams that he's probably looking at. He's a dark horse. You saw that a couple years ago, back in OKC, when he went to the Thunder and when he went to OKC and went to the Warriors. Sorry, I confused my teams there for a quick second, but it all shocked the world. You were shocked, I was shocked, everyone was shocked. So really, I'm not going to take a guess on KD. I already said, I think that he's going to come back to Golden State. It just seems right. But with all the news around it, I really don't know. I couldn't confidently give you a guess. So instead, I'm going to talk about something that probably has a bit more meaning right now. Because really, I don't know what KD's going to do. But I know what's probably going to happen with this. The NBA has proposed a new rule. And this new rule is regarding challenges. Yes, challenges. Just like the NFL. It will allow NBA coaches to challenge plays. But they have limited these plays. They have limited it to called fouls. Called fouls. So that means the fouls need to be called, and then you can, go like, challenge, and be like, hey, that's not a foul, or something like that. It will be also goaltending, basket interference, those type of things, and out-of-bounds plays. This has already gone 2 seasons of testing in the G League, and it's going to be implemented in this year's Summer League. So it's already gone through some trial and error. So I believe it'll work. And there are still other parts of it that I find a bit interesting. It's similar to the NFL in the sense that you need a timeout to call it. And if you get the challenge right, you get to keep the timeout. But it's not similar to the NFL in the sense that if you get it, even if you get it right, you lose that challenge. In the NFL, if you get it right, you keep that challenge. In this, you don't keep the challenge. You get one challenge and only one challenge. And what I think that does is that it helps keep the flow of the game. Because now, what you also get is that you get a reversal of the previous review rules, where before refs can review whatever they wanted. They do the little twirl motion in the air with their fingers and be like, hey, we're going to review it. Or they would even listen to the coaches go and review it. It keeps the flow of the game. It also allows for plays to be reviewed when it clearly obstructs the rules, which is also good. And it allows to keep the flow of the game too. And it only allows, I'm guessing that these coaches will know when to pick their battles, because they only got one little challenge thing to throw out there. They only got one challenge to throw. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to choose their battles, and they're going to let a lot of plays go. They're going to let a lot of plays go. And so we're going to see a lot quicker tempo games. We're going to see a lot, probably more frustrated coaches, to be quite frank with you. We're going to see an early adjustment early on in the season. And we're going to see these coaches hold on to their challenge request until very, very late in the game. So now it can make the end game a bit more murky when it gets really, really close and really muddy and chaotic. But I think for the most part, it'll be kind of nice tempo for a majority of the game. Now, I do think that there was one major flaw for this. Because the rule book says, well, in this case, for this rule, that when the team wants to request a challenge, they must immediately call a timeout, and then during the timeout, immediately go up to the official and say, Hey, I want to challenge. I want to challenge that play. No, I understand where the NBA is coming from and the idea is there, but I think that this comes with a big, old negative. It is horrible for teams on the defensive end. And I'll give you one play off the top of my head, that highlights this. Kevin Durant going out of bounds against the Houston Rockets. We all saw this play. It was all over social media. You had players saying, oh, the refs love Golden State. And obviously that's not the case. They just obviously didn't blow their whistle. But in that case, that play I don't believe would be reversed. Because although it's an out of bounds play, the defense won't be able to call a timeout. Because like I said, the rule book states that a timeout can only be called when you're on offense or a dead ball takes place. And Houston was on defense. So how are they supposed to call a timeout and fix that play? Call a challenge on that. Granted, this was the regular season, but things like this can happen in the playoffs. So I think that it is a good idea, and the NBA did a good job by implementing this rule, or at least setting it up for implementation, because it hasn't gone under vote yet and has not been officialized yet. But I think that comes with one huge negative. It's going to hurt the defense. It's going to help the offense more so. The simplest thing that comes to mind is the foul calls, too. You remember that whole charge, blocking foul sort of thing? Yeah, I think in that case it can actually help the offense more. Even though you can argue it'll help the defense, I think it'll help with the offense more. Because once you go into the game situations and you have something like that, say they call it a charge, dead ball, the team that was on the offensive side can go like, no, timeout, we're going to challenge that. We're going to challenge that. We're going to challenge that, yeah. Yeah, you heard me, we're going to challenge that. And what they're going to do is that they're going to watch the replay, and they're going to see some slight little movement and be like, oh, no, that's a blocking foul. That's a blocking foul. Because technically, he moved. He slid into the offensive player. Because there's going to be some movement in these cases. No one is going to be perfectly still when they're going to get run over in a charge. But I think that that's how it's going to go. Now, if it doesn't go like that, then, credit to the NBA for creating a perfect rule. But no rule is perfect. This will have that major flaw of helping the offensive game more. Not only with the flow, which I think will be good, because you won't have all these timeouts called early on, because these teams are going to reserve it for the very end, especially one more for a challenge. And the refs won't be able to stop the game continuously for reviews. But you have these late game situations where it's probably going to help the offensive side. Probably will. Now, ultimately, this will take a vote on July 9th. And 2/3 of the 30 teams, so that's 20 teams, need to vote yes to pass it. But according to Zach Lowe, you can expect it to be passed. And I think it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But it has that one fatal flaw of helping offenses more than it will help the defensive side of things. But who knows? I could be wrong. It could be perfect. Because there's only one challenge. So maybe it won't have a severe consequence, but I think it will. I think it will have a severe consequence in the long run. I just think it will. It will help the offenses more than it will help the defense. Thank you for listening to the TheGTruth. Be sure to like and subscribe if you are listening to this on YouTube, as well as follow this podcast on the podcast app of your choice, and also the podcast app that you listen to the most. Also, be sure to share this podcast/channel with your family and friends to help this channel grow, as well as podcast grow. It has been TheGTruth. This is your host, Giovanni Canales. Thank you for tuning into TheGTruth, and peace out.